All right, fastest 15 minutes on the internet, fastest 15 minutes on social media. My name is Judson Powell, and I want you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification button. All right. All right. Today, I want to get back to the spirituality kick, and I'm going to try to stay there for a little while because there's a lot of stuff that I've been meaning to talk about that I haven't been talking about. And today, I'd like to talk about the Codex Inscriptus, or the code written in. Now, this is not for everybody. So if you're like a hardcore Christian and you're just like all into Jesus and all that, this is probably not for you. You probably don't want to watch this video, so you probably want to tune me out now. But for those people who want to know more about the Quran and the Bible, then listen to me, all right? All right. So now, here's the thing. The Bible and the Quran were both written by the same people. And, I always get flack for this, but they were written by the same people. They were just written at different times, but the same people wrote them. And it was the Greek and the Roman empires that wrote these books or commissioned to have these books written. Why did they commission to have the books written? It's the same principle as what's going on right now in the modern world. Okay, you blame another group, start a war, and then you use funding in order to maintain a war while you're stealing and selling weapons to both sides. That's kind of how it works. That's especially if you look at like Republican regimes or administrations in the United States of America. Basically, all of them have been financed by wars, or there has been a war going on during these administrations. And a lot of people blame the Rothschilds and those families, the wealthiest families, and their bloodlines are the bloodlines that run the United States of America today. If you go and you research the bloodline of like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson and all those particular people, you will find out that they're all related. Even the Civil War, like I tell people all the time, the Civil War was a family feud. It was just that's how come they didn't complain about them putting up Confederate monuments and flying the Confederate flag. To this day they don't. And and the few people that do, it's all motivated by people who basically are not related to them. All right, so but how does that relate to the Bible and the Quran? Well, the Bible and the Quran were used in order to create these divisions, and that's why you have scriptures that talk about chosen people, and this people are God's people and these people are not. Basically, Esau I hated, and Israel I loved, and all that kind of stuff. So all of these things were created, because you can historically research it, and you will find out there was no, there was no Israel until the 1940s, and it was created by who? By rich people. There was no, all those places in the Bible, they can't find one archaeological site to prove that any of them exist. So anyway, so let's bring that up to the writing of the Bible. When the Bible was written, right, you get Constantine and there were like the Nicene Council, but then there were other councils of the Catholic Church, ecumenical councils. And the reason why you had these ecumenical councils was they got together and they figured out what they were going to do. And then finally, when you get down to, many, many years later, you get down to King James. And when you get to King James had the Bible translated. And basically you had Shakespeare himself, Sir Francis Bacon, and other people that wrote the scriptures. And they wrote the scriptures, but you must remember, they were high-level witches or warlocks. They were high-level, what we would call now Illuminati or Freemasons that were in, but they were Freemasons, but they were Freemasons that were like in different sects, sort of like when they talk about George Bush being in Skull and Bones and all that kind of stuff. Same thing, Al Gore, being in Skull and Bones, and having these sects inside of the the Freemasons. All right. So now, first of all, you must understand that Freemasonry was created in Kemet. Okay, Imhotep was the creator of Freemasonry. The 40-year study. 40 years of study in order to become the master builder or the original Mason. All right. And you can see the proof of the pudding is those pyramids and the temples and everything that are still in existence in Kemet right now to this day. All right. And they're still trying to figure out how he did it because they can't figure it out. Right. Okay. So now, and then the next thing is, so now also we can basically historically pinpoint most of the scriptures to somebody in Kemet. And I've been doing this on my timeline. I've been showing you where the Proverbs and the Psalms especially were written by Egyptians. They were not written by who you think they are. The people that they put the names on, King David, King Solomon didn't exist, okay? And there's no proof that they ever existed except for what people say. But as far as anything, but we have the actual pictures. In some cases, we have the actual bodies of the people who actually wrote them. And a lot of this stuff was found inside of the burial chambers where a lot of these people were buried, or inside of the pyramids or inside of their temples. Okay, so now so now here's how it goes. So anyway, so we have the original scriptures. Just like yesterday I posted, nobody comes to the Father except by me, and that's Heru speaking about getting to Asar. All right, and so they took it and they switched it around in the King James version of the Bible to make you think that was Jesus, but it was really Heru. It was not Jesus. It was just plagiarized and stolen, which is what I tell you all the time. All right, so now this Codex Inscriptus, how did it get there? All right, it got there from black people, from our ancestors, the Moors. And the Moors were nothing more than Africans. They're, everybody, like right now, it's like all this stuff about Moors and this, that, and the other thing. Look, let me explain something to you. Moors were just a name that was given to Africans after they left out of Africa, or I should say Alkebulan, all right? So after the Alkebulan people left and they started to migrate north and they started to migrate up into Portugal and into Spain, which is where the Portuguese got the idea to enslave Africans, because they were better workers and better builders and everything than the white people were, than the Europeans and the Caucasians. All right, so that's kind of where the idea came from, but and also from the fact that the reason why they left Alkebulan in the first place was because the European Caucasians were trying to conquer Kemet, and so they left Kemet. But one thing that they did, the Kemetic priests, they wrote all of the things that were the hieroglyphs and in the papyrus. They wrote them down, and when they wrote them down, they transferred them to the Moors when they left out, and the Moors took them. All right, and so what they did was they encoded them. All right, so they encoded the spiritual knowledge and the spiritual science of Kemet, and that's how we get the Encodus or the Codex Inscriptus. And basically, that's how come we know that the scriptures are not historical, they are not prophetic, but what they are is they are basically metaphors, allegories, and parables to show you how you as a being, as a human being, relate to the universe. All right. And so we have all of these different disciplines, but they were put into code. So That's why you have to pay particular attention to numbers. You have to pay particular attention to the different people that it's talking about, but different people are talking about different things. So the one that I commonly use as an example would be Enoch. Okay, and the Bible says what? Enoch was seventh from God. So Enoch was the Christ. He was the original. He was one of the original Christ. All right, because he reached the crown chakra. And then you had other people. So like when they came up and they talked about Shul, or things that were demonic, that represented your lower nature or your root chakra. All right, and the same thing with the snake. The same thing. I did a video about that, explaining how the snake was the representation of going from your lower self to your higher self. That's why the pharaoh was always, or the queen, the goddess was always predicted with the snake head on the top of the headdress, and the reason why was because it showed the elevation from your lower self to your higher self, and being or becoming God. So, and then even the word God is not a is not a word that was used in Kemetic spirituality. Okay, we use the word netter, or meaning nature. And so each of those people, so they always try to say, well, there is polytheism. There was not polytheism. It was just that they used the different animals to exhibit your nature, to say that each one of these is one person, but but the one person has different aspects, or different sides of their personality, or different sides of their ego, or different sides of their spirit, different sides of what makes you a total human being. And that's all it was. And so, but people, oh, it's a cult, it's this, that, the other thing. But that's because they don't understand the spirituality, and they use the animals as a way of being able to show that this is part of your nature. So you have your higher nature and you have your lower nature. Your job or your purpose as a human being, one of the universal laws of purpose, one of those laws is to ascend, like Enoch did, to your higher self. Okay, and the same thing is true, and that's how they put it in. So they put all of these things in code. 12, the number 12 really coincides. So you have the 12 disciples, the 12 tribes of Israel. All of these different things are all set up. Why? They're set up to show you, first of all, astrology. All right, the planets, the way the planets evolve. And we know that, even though you could call it what you want, but you can actually set up astrological charts, and you could chart relationships between people, between planets, between things that are going to happen. Even when their Jesus talks about the end, I'll be with you even until the end of the age, he's talking about the astrological age. He's not talking about the end of the world, as everybody tries to, like it's, that's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about the end of the world. He's talking about the astrological age. And knowing that the Bible is a book of astrology, it's a book of astrotheology, and it's a book of metaphysics. So it's talking about the relationship of the astral plane with the physical plane, and how they relate to one another. Now, our ancestors were masters and geniuses at this. All right, so the things that they figured out, for example, we know that, and I talked about this yesterday, the pyramids, the Great Pyramid of Giza, okay, it sits at perfect north. All right, so with no tools, with no instruments, with nothing but, because, now we have compasses and all this kind of stuff, and we still have problems, determining true north and due north and all of this kind of stuff, or determining where the exact axis of the earth is. So knowing that we still struggle with these things today, you have to wonder how 50,000, 50 to 60,000 years ago, they were able to do this. And not to mention, that it lines up perfectly with the star system Sirius. Okay, so it lines up perfect with Sirius. It's due north, and it is measured at the speed of light and the speed of sound. Okay, so they knew the speed of light, they knew the speed of sound. And this is like, okay, so this is like genius level stuff. It really is. It's genius level. We're not talking about something that, that's why you still have white folks over there to this day digging stuff up, trying to figure out how they did this. And that's why they imitated. That's why even when they created this country, they imitated our Freemasonry. So when you talk about Freemasonry, or when you talk about Illuminati, or when you talk about all that stuff, you have to realize that these are really two separate entities. Okay, you have the creation of Freemasonry, but then, and basically even the story of the creation of Freemasonry is inside of the Bible. Okay, it is located in the Bible, and but people want to say, oh, no, but it is basically the story of mother and son, right? And who is mother and son? Who built the civilization? It was Aset and Heru. Okay, so Aset and Heru are the mother and son that the Bible is talking about, not Mary and Jesus. As a matter of fact, that's why I keep on trying to say about the feminine energy, and even to the point that that you have to give a lot of credence to the fact that more so than not, you have to look at Aset as being God, or being godlike. And once again, when I say that, I'm talking about her nature, not the fact that she is God, but the fact that her nature was the nature, or the nurturing type of nature that would be God. All right, so really think about that stuff. Okay, so we have this code. So the Moors, our ancestors, the Moors, put these things in there in order so that the Europeans and the Caucasians, and I just use it interchangeably, European Caucasians were not able to steal the science and the knowledge. And so it took them years and years. That's how come it took them all the way down to a certain time before they were able to figure it out. And then we have the study of Dr. Walter Williams, who I talk about all the time, who basically he studied it and he figured it out. And so basically the Moors took this stuff, they encoded it. Okay, so the language, now here's the thing. Now remember I said that when King James started to write, he got Sir Francis Bacon, William Shakespeare, and another guy named Webster, right? Okay, so the dictionary, why do you think, this is the thing, the reason why our languages were changed, the story of Babel, okay, the story of Babel language is not what we think it is. They changed the language, and it was our ancestors trying to explain to us that, look, they changed the language. So things that you think mean one thing don't mean what you think they mean, right? Because that's what spells are. What do you think when what do you do to a word? You spell it. When you put a group of words together, what you form an incantation or a spell or a curse, because I can curse you using words. And we know, even you people that go to the Christian church, I preach sermons, saying is sowing. The things you say is like sowing a seed. It's sowing a spiritual or psychological seed. All right, so that every time, so that's why you could say, just like Holy Communion, or what they call Holy Communion, is really an Akashic curse. Okay, because what are you doing? It's a cannibalistic curse. That's what it is. And all you're doing is you're saying an incantation, and you're doing a symbolic, basically, a symbolic gesture of that curse, which is all it is witchcraft. It's a type of witchcraft. So, and everybody can say what they want, but it's true, and they made this up. So they made it up, and so there are things. So they took parts. So what the Europeans and the Caucasians did was they took parts of the Codex Inscriptus that the Moors had done, and what they did was they added their own stuff to it. So that's why I always say that the religion of Christianity and the religion of Islam is bad, because basically they're the same religion, because. And you look, Islam came 600 years later, but Islam came so that they could pit Christians against Muslims. But it's all about money. Listen to me, it's all about money, because you've never seen a rich Muslim and a rich Christian be mad at each other. It's to keep the little people fighting amongst themselves about who's better, or who's got the best religion, or who, all of that kind of stuff. All right. So we know that, and we understand that as being so that's what it's really all about. So you have this polarization, and what the law of polarity, right? There has to be, if there's one, there has to be the other, right? Universal law. It has nothing to do with something, hocus pocus or nothing like that. Some things are hocus pocus, but this stuff is not. All right. So the Codex Inscriptus. So you have these 12 tribes. You have 4 matriarchs. 4 women gave birth to the 12 tribes. What are those? Those are the signs of, they're basically breaking down the signs of the zodiac, earth signs, water signs, fire signs, air signs, right? So you break them down, and you can break them down. So that's how, and the reason why the ancients used them was because that was their way of being able to arrange what? Families, marriages. All right. This stuff is very simple. So when they came and they tried to enslave people, what was the price? So if I take the woman away and I change the goddess to the if I change the goddess to the Holy Ghost, right? And if I take everything that's basically dealing with the family, and I remove it, so what did they do? That's what they did during slavery. Just like in the Bible, they talk about divorce. Well, divorce was not a Kemetic principle. In fact, in Africa right now to this day, it's still not a thing that's really practiced. Their divorce rate is like under 5% in most parts of Africa, and in some parts of Africa, it's non-existent. All right, but it was put in there. The same thing with certain concepts like jealousy, fear, envy, concepts like that. Those were put in there. Why? To create a stumbling block for you, so that you wouldn't be able to ascend to your higher self. Because people who are at their lower self, just like the Cain and Abel story, which I explained, fratricide, and it started off with what? It started off with envy and jealousy, right? And things like that, and the fact of the matter is, and then the other thing is the inferiority complex of Christianity, making you think that you are inferior to something that is outside of you, when you are actually a part of the law of universal oneness. You are part of the universe. Your body, everything that is in you and within you is a part of the universe. You are made up of the universe. You are made up of the elements. So how could you be sinful and evil and all that kind of stuff? You are part of the creation. You are part of the creation. So these things were created, just like I showed a friend of mine yesterday, where it says, in Psalms 82 and 6, and it says, have I not told you that ye are gods, and that you are all children of the Most High? But in there, and I wanted the conjunctive but comes after that in that verse. But da 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 da, and the eternal punishment and the eternal torment and all this kind of stuff, those things are not Kemetic, okay? Because the original law of Ma'at, okay, well, and it's not really law, but it's just your nature. It's not saying that, it's just saying that, look, you can do this, and this can occur, all right? But if it goes too far one way, then you're out of balance. And if it goes too far good or too far bad, you're out of balance. So Ma'at, you know, the woman holding the scales, which they use for our justice system, right? Ma'at is trying to tell you to stay within your balance, to stay balanced. It's not trying to tell you to do good or evil or certain things are sin, but those things, that condemnation, and then they try to say, well, there's no condemnation to those that are in Christ Jesus. You know, that's just words. It's an incantation. It's not true. There's no truth to it at all. If you are in Christ, that just means that you have reached your higher level of vibration and that you have reached your higher self. But they don't want you to, they don't want you to understand that, yeah, you can actually reach that higher self. How? Through meditation, through astrology, through prayer, through alchemy, through all of the things that they told you were evil. That's your power. Those things are your power. Those things are your power source and your power structure that the universe gave to you. And you are part of the universe. So if you're not using your universal nature in order to improve yourself to your higher level, and then they take certain things that are in the universe and try to use them against you, right? Just like, go find me hieroglyphs that show prisons or anything, all of these things, you know, all of this stuff that they do to try to break up what? Family, the original Trinity, Aset, Asar, and Hebrew. That's what they, and so that's what the New World Order is about, you know. And and the same thing with just like our Kemetic ancestors, they were filthy rich. Look at, I mean, you can see some of the burial masks with encrusted with gold and jewels and all this kind of stuff. They weren't poor people, you know, and they didn't live, rambunctiously or anything like that. They lived very peaceful lives. That's how come you get, the principles of peace. Most religions have definitely stolen that, but all of these things come back to, it's your nature, and understanding your nature and understanding the universe, how the universe works, how the planets work, how the moon, the sun, stars, everything else works. It's not evil, oh, you guys are sun worshipers. Well, you better be a sun worshiper, because if the sun don't come out tomorrow, guess what? You're in trouble. We all did. So, in the physical, I say in the physical body, but in the spiritual plane, we may not be. But if you're thinking about your physical body, if the sun don't come out, guess what? You're not gonna come out. So this coded. So let me try to get back, because I'm gonna have to do another. So this Codex Inscriptus basically was our ancestors trying to hide the true spiritual knowledge from the Caucasian, but the Caucasian figured it out. And so now, since they figured it out, they have reversed it on you. So that's what they did during slavery. They took it from you, they reversed it, they plagiarized it, and then they rewrote it. By the time it got down to King James, they completely rewrote it so that it ends up being a curse. And we don't even realize that. And you can look and you can see, because most of the stuff that's in there has nothing to do with our spirituality, has nothing to do with our science, because we relied on what we relied on was what? To thine own self be true, right? Know thyself, to thine own self be true, and right wisdom and right knowledge trumps faith. You don't need, if you have the right knowledge and you have the right wisdom, you don't need faith. You just need work. Right? Think about it. You ain't got to take my word for it. But if you have the right knowledge and the right wisdom, you don't need faith. So know yourself, and to thine own self be true. And I'll do another teaching about this, which will be much more. I'll actually, instead of going off the top of my head, I'll try to make it more formatted. And then that way you might, pick it up and understand it better. But just remember, they stole everything from you and then they flipped the script on you. All right. So try to start flipping the script back. Know yourself. To thine own self be true. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit every button, hit the love button, hit that love button, because love is the #1 universal law. Bye.